The world of work is changing. How we work is becoming as important as where we work or what we do, and one of the factors in this changing workplace is a changing workforce. Demographic trends since the 1950s have seen increasing numbers of women in work, and more recently, increasing numbers remaining in work while managing family responsibilities, with men sharing more of the care. Those family responsibilities do not stop at caring for children. Increasingly, at some point in our working lives, any one of us could be faced with the need to care for someone who cannot manage without help because of age, sickness or disability.
Supporting working carers is absolutely essential to the future economic stability of UK PLC. We all know the demographics. We know that we're going to need an additional 2 million people to work in the UK alone, let alone across Europe. And that means that we have to engage everybody. Now, basically, 1 in 3 people are going to experience caring needs over the course of their life. That means that we have to make sure that the workforce is able to accommodate those people.
Well, we think it's hugely important to support carers because we've just sponsored some recent research in British Gas which tells us that 7 out of 10 carers have to actually physically give up work when they have to take on the caring responsibilities. That, I think, is a huge loss to business, that clever, bright people are no longer able to make a contribution in the workplace.
We think it's important to support carers at work because it actually helps address issues such as absenteeism. By supporting them, we actually help with stress and stress-related illnesses, and we also have a far more committed and loyal workforce if actually they can feel as though they're being supported at work and indeed can return to work after perhaps some difficult episodes at home.
Carers as employees have distinct needs. Most employers have special leave policies in place. Most now have some form of flexible working. But it's really important that there is a specific carers policy. Often people relate the caring experience to childcare, and this is where it really is fundamentally different. With caring, often the outcome is the death of a loved relative or friend, and therefore it's really important that caring is identified as having very specific needs. There is no doubt that it needs specific empathy and help from line managers throughout the experience, and that it will not take a predictable course.
In order for us to find out what the real needs of our carers are within our own work population, we've carried out a number of surveys using our own intranet essentials. And through that, we've created a network for our carers, where we have almost 200 employees within Centrica who are involved now in the network throughout the UK. That has been a wonderful experience for carers because they have been able to share with their colleagues their own experiences, and more importantly, they've been able to advise the Centrica management of areas where we think, or they think, that we can improve our policies.
The goals and the aims of the networks are to make sure that every person within British Gas knows that there is a carers network. So we have an internal newspaper which will go out with a little slip that they can fill in so we can register them. The second one is to get the network up and running, and the site, we have our own internal internet site, and everything is on there, and we want to include everyone in this site. And finally, I want to make sure that there's communication, and any information that we can disseminate to all the staff we will do.
In the beginning, to find out what carers in the DCA needed, we established a focus group of staff with caring responsibilities and actually got them to think about all the things that impacted on them in the workplace and therefore what would actually help support them. In turn, that enabled us to develop policies and practices to actually give them greater flexibility at work.
The help the DCA has given me has been considerable because at one point when my mother did turn seriously ill, I had thought of really not working for 2 months. Now that has many options open to me because I would then not get paid. So therefore I was able then to work and look after my mother at the same time, which for me was a ray of sunshine in an otherwise dismal situation. The DCA has recognised that for when I work from home, they receive a lot more work from me. They feel I'm more loyal to them, which I've always been loyal to them, but they feel I have more of a input into the department.
We see an enormous benefit as an employer when we're offering flexible working patterns. Mainly, we have loyalty and commitment because the carers really do appreciate the flexibility that we offer, so then it affords them the opportunity to continue in the workplace, to continue with their career whilst looking after small family or elderly relatives. We also find that productivity is maintained at a high level, again because of the appreciation that they have of the opportunities that are given to them.
What British Gas did for me was, once I started back at work, they allowed me to start late, stop my shift at 3, rush home, pick the children up, cook their tea, and finish my shift in the evening once I'd gone to bed. So I got a 2 or 3 hour shift at night just to make up the time. So I was working full time, but on really quite strange patterns.
Given the skill shortages that currently exist in the UK, it's very important for a company like Centrica to retain the good staff that it has already recruited and trained. And if by giving a little bit of flexibility to someone to be able to flex their hours, to be able to still come to work, I think that's a good thing. Everybody wins, the employee wins, the person who's been cared for wins, and the company wins as well.
Some of the challenges the department's faced along the way is actually having very good policies but getting staff and managers to use them. One of the ways we've done that is to provide a lot of guides and self-help material. We have a guide for all carers, a handbook for carers. We have a guide for managers so that they know how to support carers. That gives them some case studies and hints and tips. Along with that, we actually provide, through the network for carers, management training sessions so they can come together and share some of the barriers to supporting carers in the workplace and look at solutions. Often it's very much about putting these things into practice. It's about making sure we've got mechanisms like a welfare service, we've got managers that can act as role models, so people can see that it works in practice. The other thing we encourage very much is team working, so that teams can share some of the issues they have perhaps going on out of work, so that when these problems occur at work, people are much more supportive to one another.
The team were very supportive of Brian. They appreciated the problems he had because everybody at some time will have come across this problem. So they offered him his full support. They took messages for him, they contacted him at home and kept him fully in touch with everything that was going on, so he had the full support of his team.
Recognising the point now that I'm a carer, within my own office, it's like a team spirit because everyone feels that they could be in the same position themselves someday. So therefore, everyone works as a team. There is no animosity regarding me going home. Everyone is in that position that if the need arises, they could do the same.